here's Brody Brazil.
The voicemail line is open 24/7. In fact, you can call in right now at 833-4BRODY. If you've got something great to say, leave it in a message. I'll play the very best ones back here on the channel.
Hey, Brody. This is Carlo calling from the Sacramento area. So the A's brand guideline decision to not incorporate Sacramento into the name is, I'll say, fascinating, to avoid using a number of other words. But it got me thinking on the topic of what's in a name. And, naming conventions generally, and maybe specific to San Francisco and Oakland and San Jose. I know there's a fair number of teams in the big leagues in the U.S. that don't technically play in the city they represent, but
Right.
I think in most cases, the city that they refer to is the largest city near them, right? So like the Bills in Orchard Park are 10 miles away from Buffalo,
Right.
or the Cowboys in Arlington are 20 miles or so from where the Mavs play in Dallas proper. And even those teams in different states entirely, like the Giants and Jets and
Right.
Commanders, let's say, are still like 10 miles or so from the largest city that they claim. So looking back, when the Warriors way back when moved from San Francisco to Oakland and they changed their name to Golden State, did people in Oakland and the East Bay feel some type of way? And I guess more recently with the WNBA team in San Francisco using Golden State as their name, do folks in San Francisco feel some type of way about that? Or it almost feels like similar to what Tampa and St. Petersburg do for their team, saying Tampa Bay as a way to incorporate the whole area. Is that the case, or what are your thoughts on that? And then, I don't even want to get into the 49ers being, 40 miles away from the other teams in San Francisco and, a few miles away from the teams in San Jose and still being the San Francisco 49ers, I imagine for historic and cultural reasons. But that's my question, Brody. What's in a name? Thanks.
Carlo, that was a great call. In fact, I think you gave me the title of this video, the title of my next screen here. What exactly is in a name? I do want to say, as you start to probably already digest this, names are important because this is what we identify with as sports fans. Like, this is our team. This is our region or our city's team or our state's team. And so when teams move just a little bit, or it's a little bit misleading where they're actually from, you mentioned in football, there are teams that have one state's name and they actually play in a different state. I remember explaining that to my son. He's like, wait, how? He's just turned 8. He's like, how is that possible? How can you call yourself something different? I said, well, it's not that far geographically from... Anyway, long story short, what exactly is in a name? This is something important, I think. It's something we also kind of blend over time. Teams move, things change. So let me just identify here my overall thoughts and feelings. I'm really good with state or regional locators for teams. And Carlo, you mentioned the Golden State Warriors. Do you know they got that name because one season they were having attendance problems here in the Bay Area? Imagine that. They went and played some of their games in San Diego. And it's really hard to call yourself the San Francisco Warriors when you're playing hundreds of miles away, same state, but far away down south. So they went with more of the generic name Golden State Warriors. Now, people in Oakland, over the years, they would have loved if it was called the Oakland Warriors. It would have meant more because that's where their home was for many decades, and that's kind of where they ingrained themselves here in the Bay Area. They actually started in San Francisco first, but then moved out to the East Bay. A lot of people would have loved that. I imagine even right now, people in San Francisco say, hey, wait, you play within our city and county limits, call yourselves, again, the San Francisco Warriors. But it's kind of too late. Again, though, Golden State fits something. It fits a box that the team plays in. It's the Golden State. By the way, that's the moniker of California, the Golden State. So they play in this state. I get it. It's a statewide description. It could be the Golden State Lakers or Golden State Clippers or Golden State Kings. That's all weird. But it just kind of fits with the Golden State Warriors. Okay, so it's a little bit more generic. Same thing with the Florida Panthers. And we could go on and on with the list of different teams who have more state or regional identifiers. I'm okay with that. I think it enhances your brand to make it a little bit more specific, but I really don't have a problem with that. And hate to say it, but when the Warriors moved from Oakland to San Francisco, it's kind of one of the best parts of their naming convention is that they didn't have to change their name, all the imagery that they've done and done so well with, they didn't have to change it all. They can just keep their name because it's a little bit more loose and generic. I do think it's annoying when a team leaves a geographic boundary and you bring up the 49ers. And look, I'll speak to this because It's kind of the football team that I grew up with. And Candlestick Park was 49er football. And a lot of fans, for those that love or don't care or dislike Levi's Stadium, no matter where you fall on that spectrum, it's not really about the stadium. It's about the location. And I mean, you are, let's see, you're like 2 or 3 area codes away from where Candlestick Point is and where Candlestick Park used to be. You're like a good hour-plus drive. If you want to go from Candlestick to Levi Stadium down 101 or 280, it's a hike. You are nowhere close to cable cars and the Transamerica building and the Golden Gate Bridge and Pier 39. You are nowhere near that when you're at Levi Stadium watching a 49er game. But what were they supposed to do? The Bay Area 49ers, the NorCal 49ers, now we're getting into a weird category. I'm not here to say that there was a better option for them. Sometimes there is. You can say, why didn't you just do that? Why were you so stubborn? But it's all about branding. It's all about market valuation. The name San Francisco 49ers is valuable. This is kind of my last point, which I'll eventually hammer home here at the very end. Franchise valuation is largely tied to the market you're in and the market name, like the Los Angeles Angels. Hang on, more on that in a second. I know they're going to be the thumbnail of this video. It's annoying, though, when a team leaves a boundary and keeps the name, because then it's not accurate anymore. And it once was accurate. And you're thinking, well, why couldn't you have just stayed in your boundary? You planted your flag here, and then you ripped your flag out of the ground, you moved it, and you planted it again without changing it or updating it. So, again, I don't have a better suggestion for the 49ers. I'm just here to say that even as somebody who loves the team, loves this area, I always have a weird taste in my mouth knowing that people think they still play in San Francisco. When you're around here, it's nowhere close. And I would imagine that they are one example of many in professional sports. False advertising is the worst. So in this case, the Angels never moved. From Anaheim, from Orange County, they never moved. They just changed their name to something that they're not. You could argue that Los Angeles means the entire region of SoCal, but that's why it's called SoCal. And that's why a lot of people will identify Orange County and Anaheim as being different from Los Angeles. Los Angeles and Anaheim, I think, are about only 30 miles away. If you're going to do that drive, it's more like an hour, hour and a half, depending on traffic. But for the Angels to start calling themselves Los Angeles, why? Because franchise valuation is largely tied to the market name. And when you can all of a sudden be the biggest one and be in one of the biggest markets in the world, you're going to just change your name. And that's something that I respect about going back to the Oakland teams when they existed. Oakland Raiders, Oakland A's. They could have all called themselves the San Francisco something. They only play 7 miles across the water, 5 miles across the water from San Francisco. But it's all about your region's name. And I know the mayor of Anaheim earlier this calendar year, she came out to say that she would prefer that if the Angels want to do a new deal and a new stadium, ballpark village surrounding Angel Stadium, that she would love for them to change their name back to being called the Anaheim Angels. Heck, the California Angels were a better fit. Like this is one of those cases where there's several different options. Like the 49ers, I don't have a better choice here. But for the Angels, they've had those names already. And this is one that doesn't fit. And they're literally choosing one that doesn't fit because of the valuation of the team. And I'm sure that makes a huge difference. So what's in a name? A lot. And these are different, variations of teams. Look, if you're the Chicago Cubs and you play in Chicago, it's simple. There's not much more to talk about there. But when you're one of these teams with a broad name or a name of somewhere you used to be, or a name that is not actually where you are, or a name that you just chose that's near you that you've never even been, all of those things I feel different about to varying degrees. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. Also, thumbs up while you're down there. Greatly helps me, the video, and the channel. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel right down there. Hit that button. That way I can definitely see you back here next time.